National Championship, sir? Washington or Michigan?
I can't wait for this game. And by the way, for all the people saying the College Football Playoff Committee got it wrong, did you guys not watch the games yesterday? They
What
were
about all the people that are crying about Texas? They get screwed.
those two, both of those games were absolutely fantastic. They came right down to the final play. You had controversy, as you were just referencing.
And not really controversy. It was not pass interference, in my opinion. It was a moon ball, it was a jump ball. Texas fans are crying. You got to outplay the whole game. Washington once you back into the game.
Fair enough. You know what I love about this game, though, between Washington and Michigan is, one, they're going to be conference mates next year. And two,
they play each other next year, too.
Bingo. They play each other in Seattle next season. So.
Well, I was going to say what fascinates me is Washington's aerial attack versus Michigan's ground and pound. Their offensive line, their dominance. Which me and you both said Michigan and Alabama were two very even teams. Washington and Texas were two very even teams. We saw that on display. By the way, Georgia made a hell of a statement, did they not? They're probably one of the top 4 teams because of the circumstances. They got screwed. I mean, it just is what it is. I'm sorry, Georgia. There's no business.
I mean, the right 4 teams got in, but this game.
Yeah, I said it today. You could have made an argument, even though Bama beat Georgia. You could have made an argument for Georgia over Bama. You really could have.
Sure. And I would hear that argument. I would for sure hear that argument. Florida State? No, I wouldn't hear that argument. Get out of here.
When it comes down to this, though, and we're going to get to this topic in about a minute or so, Jim Harbaugh potentially coaching his final game as the college football coach at Michigan. I think Michigan, I said it all year from week 1. I said Michigan's the best team in college football this year. I'm not standing by it. I think Michigan, I could see this potentially being like a 27-20 like ball game. I could see Michigan just running it down Washington's throat, frustrating Michael Penix, forcing him to throw the ball deep into some mistakes. I think as much as the Ohio State and you as a Penn State fan probably don't want to see it, Michigan Wolverines are your 2024 college football national champions.
I feel like if the entire state of Ohio is rooting for Washington in this game because they don't want to hear it from Michigan fans for 365 days that they won the national championship.
Listen, I'll say this. A lot of Ohio State fans think I'm a Michigan fan, and I keep telling them, no, I'm not. I like Jim Harbaugh. I like Michigan, the brand. I like Harbaugh as a coach. I like their team. Excuse me. They're physical. They beat people up.
Blake Corum has been awesome at running back for Michigan. But I have to ask, Alabama, you called 2 timeouts. And
I didn't get that play at all.
And that was your play call?
I didn't get. Now, in fairness, if there was an RPO off that, I think it could have been a good call. Maybe a tight end stick route right to the goal line. I didn't get the QB draw, though.
Yeah, especially because the center was like having trouble with the snaps all day. I don't get it. There were like 4 or 5 times it was a low snap. I'll tell you who was a real key factor in that game, though, even though Alabama lost. It was their punter, because Alabama was forced to play the field position game against Michigan, and the punter kept backing Michigan up like inside the 10-yard line, like on a consistent basis.
And Michigan nearly made a critical error when they were at the half-yard line. I'm saying, why are you in shotgun? Just run a touch push and get some yardage. That was a real risk at the end of regulation.
Oh, yeah. And the fact that the returner nearly lost the game for Michigan with either a safety or a touchdown, on that last punt return. I was like, what are you doing?
To wrap it up, I think Washington's too exposed to get blown out. This is not TCU from last year.
Oh, no.
But I do think there is a situation where Michigan just runs the damn hell out of the ball. They frustrate Washington, and they could get a big potentially in the second half.
I think this comes down to a last-second field goal. I really do.
Wow. See, I don't. I think it's like a 7 to 10 point Michigan victory. I think they just keep wearing down Washington. And I think Joe Klatt today made a very good, made a very good point when he said that Washington is built a lot like the Ohio State team that Michigan just beat 3 weeks ago.
Sure. I can see that comparison, but the difference is Ohio State doesn't have a lot of explosive skill guys on the outside. You look at what Washington has. We'll see if Dylan Johnson's able to play. If he's not, that's a huge loss for them. But they have Roma Dunze, who is a fantastic wide receiver. They have Jalen Polk. They have McMillan. They have the tight end who Michael Penix loves to go to. So Washington's a lot more explosive than what Ohio State is, which Ohio State, you lost to freaking Missouri. What the hell?
Well, it's a bowl game that nobody cares about. Let's go to a situation that people do care about. Will Monday night be Jim Harbaugh's last game as the head coach of Michigan, Mr. Unger?
This is such a fascinating question because you look at what Jim Harbaugh has done. He had an interview with the Minnesota Vikings, and it looked like he might get that job.
And by the way, was the favorite to get that job, and Jim backed out of it, not the Vikings.
Okay. I know, didn't he recently interview with another team last year?
I thought it was the Raiders. I could have been wrong.
Okay. And he just hired a notable agent in the NFL, Don Yee, right?
Yes.
So I think it's lining up to be similar to, do you remember when Pete Carroll and USC were facing all of those allegations years ago? What did Pete Carroll do? He jumped ship, went to the Seattle Seahawks. I wouldn't be surprised if Jim Harbaugh does the same thing. And if he does end up leaving Michigan, there's one team I think he should go to. And their quarterback is Justin Herbert.
Yeah, I think we're all on the same page on that. And the other interesting thing is, Michigan's going to lose a lot of recruits this year. And recruiting in college football is hard. And for a lack of a better term, there's a lot of bullshit you have to deal with in college football. Recruiting, the parents, the boosters, the damn band. I mean, there's just a lot of crap that you have to deal with that you don't have to deal with in the NFL. Regardless, I do think it comes down to, would you be willing, because Harbaugh is going to want personnel. And we talked about this with Belichick and the Chargers. Will the Chargers be willing to give up personnel? I still think that division, you got to deal with Andy Reid. You got to deal with Patrick Mahomes. Sean Payton's going to have a new quarterback next year. Vegas, who knows what they do at the quarterback position, but Antonio Pierce is turning out to be a real good coach.
Let me just say this before you continue. If the Raiders make the same mistake and don't hire him to be their full-time coach, they got issues because they should have kept Rich Bisaccia as their head coach.
And I agree with you completely on that. You look at the jobs that are potentially opening. I actually think, and as an Eagles fan, it kills me to say it, I think Washington is actually an attractive job. New ownership, good draft capital.
Does Eric Bieniemy stay there as offensive coordinator?
Scary Terry as a wide receiver one. You have that good defensive line. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm starting to think that Caleb Williams will go number one, but not to the Chicago Bears.
I think he goes to the Commanders.
I think he grew up in Washington. I, for some reason, think the Bears aren't not only keeping Justin Fields, I think they're going to keep Eberflus too.
I mean, Justin Fields has been playing better as of late, so I wouldn't be surprised. But
I told you, if I'm Chicago and I'm ripping off the Band-Aid. I'm taking Caleb Williams. I'm getting rid of Eberflus. I'm getting an offensive coach. None of their winning the last few weeks has changed my mind on anything Chicago.
But you just said the Bears are probably going to keep Justin Fields.
Well, because that's what the Bears do. That's not what I would do if I was in charge of the Bears.
Now I get what you're saying. Now I get what you're saying.
Like Carolina, I would not want that job now, even though it is a weak division. You're dealing with a crazy
David
owner.
Tepper, did you see the video of this?
I did see the video of that. I was wondering if a job like Tennessee opened up. You might think I'm crazy, but Tennessee, I mean, we've done quarterbacks twice, but it's not a particularly hard division, I would say. Houston is decent. They're not great. Indianapolis, again, going to be decent, not great. Jacksonville's decent, not great, but getting better. I don't know if that job after year one is a horrible job. I think you'd have to do one hard year. Atlanta, to me, like I keep telling you, get a quarterback. Like Atlanta, go get a quarterback and you have a good job. There's options out there, but I think by far the best job is the Charger job. But again, my only apprehension on the Charger job is, do I really want to go for the AFC? And do I really want to face Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid twice a year?
The problem with Atlanta is, like, even if you go there, are you going to have a quarterback?
I already told you, if I'm Atlanta, I'm getting on the phone. I'm saying, I will give you my first-round pick for Justin Fields.
The Falcons should absolutely do that. They should. I
don't think Justin Fields is worth a first-round pick in every place. I don't know. Like, would Tennessee give up a first for him? Probably not. They'd probably give up a second. There's situations where they're not that desperate, but they would like an upgrade. Maybe the Saints, they'd take them for probably a second or a third. The other interesting one, and we're going to get into this, I'm sure, in the next couple of weeks. Here's a wild card. Hey, Cleveland, what would it take to get Deshaun Watson?
I mean, he hasn't lived up to his $230 million contract. I'll tell you that.
I'm telling you, I never thought I'd be in favor of taking a 38-year-old over, Deshaun Watson. But all right, we are getting completely off topic now.
We're good at that.